if Roman society was so stratified, why did the Romans pour so much funds, money, whatever, into public infrastructure that benefited everyone? Good question. Great question, actually. See, Roman society was a hierarchical society. Okay, it was like a pyramidal structure. At the very top, you had people called the patricians, wealthy citizens at the very top. Then you had people who were called the equites, the plebeians. Then you had the freedmen, and at the bottom you had the slaves. And slaves constituted a very large percentage of the population of Roman society. And there were freedmen who were former slaves who had been freed. So they were one rung above the slaves. The slaves were not free, the freedmen were free, and that sort of thing. So you had a pyramidal structure, a strictly, sharply, rigidly hierarchical society you had in Rome. And despite the situation of the society being so hierarchical, many major public works, amenities like baths and fountains and roads and sewers and aqueducts and even entertainment, uh, you know, buildings dedicated to entertainment, such as amphitheaters, etc. These were constructed and they were made accessible to large segments of the urban population, mostly in Rome. Not just the upper classes, but large segments of the urban population. Now, why do that? When you have all the power, all the money, why do so much public works and give so much nice stuff to the people who are not in power, who don't have the money or the power? Why do that? Right? So in Roman society, wealthy people, wealthy individuals, they were expected to fund public works. Okay, baths and theaters and temples and libraries and amphitheaters. They would even distribute food to the poor people. This was done as visible gifts to their communities, and these would be recorded. Okay, so by doing this, prominent Roman citizens would gain honor. They would gain social status because I have so much money, I'm able to donate and do all this work. And all this work would be commemorated in inscriptions and monuments. That was a means of attaining glory in the historical record, in monuments, in inscriptions on monuments, right? And all of this was very important. It really mattered in the Roman culture, the elite culture of Rome. Now, Rome had two periods. One is the Republic, the other is the Imperial period of Rome. The Imperial period begins with Augustus, right? With the ascent of Augustus. Octavian becomes Augustus. He was Caesar's chosen heir. Caesar was the bridge between the Republican period and the Imperial period. So during the Republican period of Rome, if you were an ambitious, high-born person, a noble, if you were ambitious, you sought high office. If you wanted to gain more power, more influence, you would use public works as a win, as a means to win popular support and outshine your adversaries, your rivals. Uh, Nobles would organize games. They would organize games in amphitheaters, gladiatorial combat or other things, that sort of thing. Similar to what we have today, like football games and cricket games, it keeps the public's mind occupied away from what really matters. You're gonna keep watching your IPL, you're gonna keep watching your cricket match, football match. You're gonna keep obsessing over this rivalry, that rivalry. My favorite player is this guy, your favorite player is this guy, I hate that guy, I like this guy. Those little petty, minor, insignificant things consume the time and the energy and the thoughts of the majority of the people. The same thing was also the case in Rome, where they had these great gladiators and they would organize these great games, right? And whoever organized this, they were able to outshine their rivals. So, and it's not just games. You built aqueducts, you built roads, you built highways, you built temples, all of that. So by doing this, you were able to gain support from the public, because public support still mattered. You were able to gain votes. You were able to bring people into your inner circle of power. Yeah, it gave you prestige. It gave you long-term family reputation, and the poor masses, the population, they also received tangible benefits. So if you became powerful and you were super wealthy, they would not be too jealous. They would not be likely to stick a dagger between your ribs from in the night, right? That sort of thing. So that's another reason why so much infrastructure was built. And this public infrastructure, it also helped to maintain law and order in Rome. Okay, because if you have good roads, if you have temples where people can go and worship, if you have amphitheaters where you can go and watch gladiators kill each other, if you have a reliable water supply from the aqueducts, if you have good sewage systems, if you had if you have good public baths, if you have all of these things, it is going to bring the potential for discontent significantly drastically down. It will also limit disease. If you have high quality water supplies, sewage systems, public baths, all that, then diseases the incidence of diseases will also go down, and this once again will keep the public happy. So all of this, the effect it had is that it made the populations more governable. Okay, and when it comes to roads and bridges and ports and harbors, well, these served geopolitical and military purposes. Okay, they helped military movement, they helped people, they helped the administration collect taxes from various provinces, faraway provinces. They they helped the administration and the Roman Empire conduct long distance trade between its provinces and between its vassals and the core state. Right? So this made the state more powerful. It made the empire more powerful. It made the land owning elites wealthier. Right? So these are the reasons why Roman society, despite being so stratified, etc., so hierarchical, it still spent so much money on public infrastructure, which benefited the larger society, because you have to keep the people happy. That way you will have an orderly and governable society. If the people are unhappy, if they are discontented, if their living conditions are unbearable, then you're going to have anarchy. No matter how many soldiers you have, you can't govern the people who are in the millions. So that's the reason why the Romans poured so much wealth into public infrastructure, into public works.